Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing great, and it must be fun to learn the CC900 with Prashant sir. And we are going to begin with our day three very soon. Before that, I would love to ask if you have any queries or something. Also, I have to announce the winners of yesterday who have commented on our post. So our first winner is going to be Mr. Akhilesh Soni, who is a student of KJ Soumya Institute of Engineering and Information Technology. And let me tell the name of second one. Just give me a second. The second winner is Pratik Shetty. He is, from Thakur College of Engineering and Technology. And the third one is going to be Abhiraj Acharya, again the student of KG Somaria Institute of Engineering and Information Technology. I'll write down the name of all the winners in the chat section also once, and then you can do the formalities whatsoever it is, and we can go ahead. So, without any wastage of time, let me hand over the stage to Prashant sir and we can begin with the session. So, please.
Hey, hi guys, and welcome to third day of this our series where we are uh, going to explore the networking part. Apart from the networking, the identity access management and governance part that we are going to cover today. And who joined today? So I will recommend that you can go on to the community YouTube channel where we have posted all this video. So go and watch through that video, so you will get what are the part you have missed throughout this particular series, so you can cover those things from there. So let's start with today's agenda. Let me share my screen, and let me know once you are able to see my screen. I hope yeah, it's visible for you everyone, right? Today we will start with Azure networking, what the Azure networking and why we required it, when it's come to all the uh, resources that we are going to install and configure on the cloud side, Azure cloud side. So why we required the networking? First of all, like each and every computer or resource that we are going to create, there should be something in a place so that they can communicate with each other. Take the example, you have the web app server running on the Azure, and if you have database, so you should need a connectivity in between these two components, right? So to fulfill this particular requirement, we required the network where they have the right channel to communicate with that particular resource, in our case the database, right? So there are even you take the example of the Azure, when we are not the only person who are utilizing the Azure environment, right? So there are lots of organization, they are utilizing the Azure resources. So how should I isolate my environment from them? Because it's a shared platform that we learn in the yesterday's videos, right? Where we got to know that what are the solution that is provided by the Azure, that is shared for each and everyone, and whoever want to utilize it, they can utilize it. But now that now the situation is that I need to isolate my environment, at least for from, so that no one can access to my environment. For that matter, we need to create the networking part in our subscription, or maybe in our tenant, where we can restrict the access, inbound access for our environment. So if you talk here, like on the networking part, we have the networking, we can create the network, virtual network, and we segregate that particular network into the small subnets, so that what are the CIDR we are going to utilize, that will we can utilize in the right way. Now when it's come to the deciding the IP address and IP address range for your subnet, so two three things you need to keep in your mind. And those are, like, whenever you are creating the your VNet, that VNet IP range should not be conflict with your existing environment, so that if that happen, then there will be no conflict of the IPs, and your solution will be not work as you expect. So you need to be extra careful when you're creating the virtual VNets and everything. So your IP range should be unique, and that should be available in within your virtual environment, or maybe your physical environment, if you have both environment, on premises environment, or maybe your cloud environment. So make sure that it should be fresh range for your vnet that you are going to create. Second thing is that whenever you create the subnet or vnet, so that you can plan it accordingly, so that you cannot waste your ip from your range. Like if you create the subnet where you will get 255 ips, so if you require those kind of subnet within your that particular resource group, where you really feel that all my ips get consumed by that particular subscription, then you can create it. If you feel that no, I don't require this much of pool, I do have couple of vms those are running, or maybe a couple of resources those are running in that particular subnet. So you just calculate the number, and have the 10 15 buffer ip in that particular pool, and create the subnet with that particular range, where you will get the lesser impact on your the entire subnet, so that you can utilize remaining ip for the other purpose, right? So that way we have to configure all these ips and everything for everyone. Okay, so let's see here. Like, now consider that you have created your virtual network, you created your virtual network, and you created also subnet also. So you, like, within your subnet you will put down the resources, right? Maybe you create the resource group. Under that particular resource group, you may have your virtual machine, right? You have your storage. And from this particular subnet, if this subnet is assigned to your resource group, then definitely whatever the subnet range that you have defined, your resources will get the ip address from that particular range. So this way we can do it. But take the example, like where you have the vnet, and that vnet is completely, you have two vnet, and there are those are completely different range of the ip address, okay, or maybe class of the ip address. In that case, how we can how my I have the consider that I have one vnet with 10.1.0.0, and I have second vnet that is 192.168.0.0. I do have the vm here, and I have second vm here. On this particular vm, consider that my application is running, and I keep my databases those are running on this vm in this separate vnet, because I don't want to put down everything on the same unit. But now in this case, these ip range are totally different. So how my these two vms can communicate with each other? That's the challenge comes into the picture, right? So to mitigate this particular challenge, we need to create the pairing, okay, in between your vnet to vnet pairing. Once you create this pairing in between these two vnet, so what are the resources that you have in between these two vnets, they are able to reach out to each other. So this is how we can configure our resources. The same way we can isolate our environment from the other shared organization who are utilizing the cloud environment, azure cloud environment. So this will this will solve our problem, at least for the within our two vnets. But what in the case where we required extra layers, where considering that I do have my on premises environment somewhere, and I have the cloud presence also. In that case, if I want to create the connectivity in between these two environment, then the vpn gateways comes into the picture. Okay, so what exactly the vpn gateway vpn can do for us? It will create the encrypted traffic channel in between your on premises or your cloud environment, where you will get the connectivity in between these two environment. And whatever the tunnel you are going to create, that will be totally encrypted. End to end encryption will be happen to these two tunnels. So your traffic will be move from to different location, or maybe to different places, where you have to create these VPN gateways. And when it's come to the VPN gateway, it has there are options that you can define when it's come to the gateway. Okay, when I want to create the VPN gateway, so there is point to site VPN gateway. Consider that you are the only person, or maybe you are in a small organization who is running their business, and we have the environment on the cloud. But in that case, I do have only 5 to 10 members who is continuously accessing the resources and everything, and they are doing from their own system. So in that case, if I want to create the VPN gateways and everything for that particular connectivity, so we need to create point to site VPN. So what we will get the option here, like considering that this user, it's sitting on your local things, and now he want to connect to the cloud environment where your VMs are running. Consider that your VMs are running here, and you want to access this particular environment. So once you create the point to site VPN from your system to this particular subscription or your subnet, so that this particular user can access the resources from his system with the encrypted way, where he can access all the resources smoothly. So this is how we can accomplish the task where small organizations want to run their business, and employee moved all over the globe, or maybe they want to access the environment remotely. Now a thing that if the situation is something different here, like I do have the it's I am the big organization, and I do have my presence, it's my office, and I do have a presence where my VMs are running, my databases are running onto the on premises. Even it's on premises, and now I am utilizing the cloud environment where my some resources are running there. Right now, I want connectivity in between these two environments. So, and I required all the connectivity over the internet, but it should be through the VPN gateway, where the whatever the tunnel is going to be created, it will take care about the encryption and everything. So in that case, you can create your site to site VPN gateway. That's once you create it, so that whatever the resources are on your on premises, they can access the resources from the on the Azure side, or vice versa. You need to configure it in that way, so that it will so that it will help you out to create the connection and access your resources smoothly. So these are the VPN type. Another VPN type, if you have the organization who is running on the Azure, okay, and you have some client who is also running on the Azure, and you have your solution running on the Azure, and now you want to know this your customer want to access your application that is running on your VNet. So there are multiple ways, but we are talking in terms of the VPN gateway, how we can achieve it. In that case, if both provider and your consumer are available on the Azure presence, so in that case we can create here VNet to VNet gateway. If VPN gateway created like for the VNet to VNet, so that within this particular to VNet on the Azure, they can access the resources from each other. That way we can define it. But if you want to know more security and more complexity, where everyone need to adhere to the your company's compliance and the security policy, then there are other ways also, like depend on your solution how you want to provide your application to the your consumer. It is depend on that solution, but these are the options available on the Azure that we can utilize for our options, where we can bifurcate our traffic for the Azure networking. Okay, so these are the VPN side, VPN gateways, where we can define our traffic. On top of that, one another express routes come into the picture, where you want to create the direct connectivity between your office and your Azure services, where all the it will be through the service provider, ISP service provider, who can create the direct tunnel between your office and Azure environment, where all the traffic will be go through that particular channel, and it will be again encrypted, and you have control on that particular traffic. So that's how we can create the express route, and we need to define the circuits in between this that particular express route, so that that can help you out to make the connectivity in between your regions. Okay, so that's how the VNet and VPN gateway comes into the picture for to have the connectivity in between your two sites and to location, to run your business, and provide your application to your consumer the way we need to configure. Okay, so that's about the networking and everything. So I will quickly move on to the portal, and I will quickly show you how we can create the virtual network. Okay, so currently I am on the my subscription. If I want to create the VNet, here I need to type virtual network. Just click on the virtual network. So you will get option to create option here. Just you need to click on this create button. So it will open the wizard to create your application VNet. Okay, you have to specify the resource group where you want to keep this particular resource. So if you have the resource group, that's well and good. If you don't have, then create a new resource group here. Specify the name for that particular resource group. So in our case, I'm going to put down demo RG. Just click on the OK. Then we have to provide the network name for this VNet. So we'll put down the demo VNet, and we can create it the location where we want. Now I will keep it into the central India. Okay. Then click on the next, where we have to define the IP range. So by default, whatever the IP range available, it will take that particular IP range, or and the same way match to this particular IP range, it will create the default subnet for you, so that this how it will accomplish. But if you want to add new IP range that's match to your requirement, so then you can delete it from here and add the another IP range that you required. Once you add the IP range here, then just create the subnet that belongs to that particular IP range. And the way we discuss, like make your subnet as per your requirement, whatever the IP you required for those numbers of the IP, you can make your segmentation of your subnet, so that you can save your IPs to assign for the new teams, or maybe for the new application that's coming into that particular subscription. So here, like we are going with default option, where the IP range start with the 10.1.0.0/16, and it's getting in this particular pool, we are getting 60,536 IP address, and we have to define the range according to that. When we click here the subnet, we make the small subnet with the /24, so that we will get the IP range according to that. Okay, once you did that, just click on the next tab, where you have to define the security part. Then you have to define your tag. Then you just have to review your configuration. And once your configuration get reviewed, just click on the create button, so that it will deploy your virtual network in your subscription. So it will take couple of seconds to create your VNet. Then you are ready to utilize this particular VNet and the subnet within that, so that this VNet will be responsible to assign the IP address for the resources that you are going to create in the Azure environment. If you see here that it's showing that your deployment is completed, and you can directly access that particular VNet. So this is what the VNet we have created, demo VNet. And if you see here, you have the IP address range that we have defined. You can add the extra IP address range after you created this particular VNet. That option is there. You can explore it. You can add the multiple IP range, and you can define the subnet according to that. Okay, this what the IP range where you can provide. And if you want to create the extra subnet, because you created one subnet where limited IP, now you have the another application comes into the environment, and you want another subnet, dedicated subnet for that particular application, then you can create the subnet from here. Just you need to click on this subnet button. We have to create, give the name for that particular subnet, then the IP range that you want to define, and the other configuration. It's in the advanced things that's comes into the advanced level. So for this particular course, like bootcamp for the AZ 900, you should be only aware about what are the options available, but you can explore this, go and create the another subnet. Once if you feel that something or somewhere you are blocking, reach out to us, we can help you out. But why I'm not creating here, I want you guys to create that, so that you will make your hand dirty to create it. And the way that's the way you can learn the things. You can create the resources, and you will get more confident on that. So it's about this is what about your uh, vnets, and how we can create and everything. I hope it's unclear. If you have any doubts, so we can cover it and at the end of this particular session. So next thing, we will discuss about. Wait a minute. Okay, so next is about your identity governance and privacy. That's we need to discuss about in today's session. And like in first day we have talked about the cloud computing. Second day we have touched to the core services, where we have created the VMs. We created today we have created the VNet, where we are isolating our environment from the Azure other cloud resources. Those are utilizing on the cloud. Now i need I need extra layer of the security, where my organization have something in a place where the my policies and compliance things into the picture. And Microsoft has their policies for their data center, how they are complying compliance their resources, and how they are good in maintaining their data center. So that's things we need to think about that. Like even the like any organization want to adhere any cloud provider, in that case, how they may how they can trust on the Azure, or maybe any other cloud provider. So they need to showcase everything, like how they have configured, and what the things are there, the documentation and other things. So we will touch about all those points. Like here, if you see, like we have the what we are going to cover here, like we will discuss about the Azure identity services. What are the Azure identity services available? We will talk about the Azure governance feature, and then we will talk about the Azure privacy and compliance, so that you will be get to know that how we can make our environment compliant environment, so that we can put down our services. We should have the rights control in the system, so that we can manage it with very smooth manner. So first we will start with Azure identity services. What are the Azure identity service? So if I talked about what is the difference between your authentication and authorization, it's the same way. Like if you said the authentication, so you have the key, but you should have the locks that can lock, you can open it. Like the same way you can define it, the authentication and authorization. Authentication is nothing but it will give you the access on the some resources where you want to be. But authorization is that even you're having the access, someone should be there in the authority who can grant your access to that every time when you are going to access particular resources. So that this is what the authoritative system that can check your identity and everything, then it will authorize for you to access the resources. That's the basic understanding of the authentication and authorization. And if I talked about the native services from the from your services, um, for the identity access management and everything, so we have the Azure Active Directory. So using the Azure Active Directory, we can configure our authentication and authorization. Okay. Now, when it's come to the Azure Active Directory, so the layman term we use for the any Active Directory here we called as a tenant. You will be you will hear this particular word throughout your session, like which resource you want to create and on which tenant you want to create. So tenant is nothing but your directory where it's managing your overall authentication authorization part of your so for your environment, your user access management, control based management, everything. Now, even if you have the Azure Active Directory, you configure the users and everything, right? Then you should have to be more protective. Even user has the username and access where he can put down his credential on the resources and he can access it. We can create the multi-factor authentication for those kind of authentication and authorization, where like your user, the employee will put down username and password. The same way we need to enforce our multi-factor authentication, where you will get the authenticator app on your system, or maybe you will get a hard token where the extra layer of the identification, where you need to go in that particular application, put down the code, soft code, or maybe hard token. If you have that hard token, you have to add those token, one after you pass with your uh, username password, then your identity part, where multi-factor authentication, like that you have to do enter. Once you enter that, then it will go to the Azure Active Directory, where it can validate everything, and then it will provide access you to on that particular resources. Same way you can all over the globe, like every organization push this particular multi-factor authentication for their environment, because everyone want their environment should be secure, and that should be in that way, so that people should have the multi-factor authentication based on the the policies and everything that defined by the organization. So let's we will talked about the Azure Active Directory in between, like Azure Active Directory, like earlier, if you guys working in the IT from the long time, then you should be aware about the Active Directory. Okay, so that Active Directory is something different, and Azure Active Directory is not the replacement of that active on premises Active Directory, because on premises Active Directory work on the FISMO role. They have the 5 roles that can manage entire things. On top of that, in the Azure on premises Active Directory, you can create group policy, and you can push it out to the your entire organization level. But Azure Active Directory has the limited scope, where you can just it's a managed identity service for cloud based resources. And if you want to replicate the on premises Active Directory with the on the Azure side, so we have then another solution for the Active Directory domain services solution, that can replicate the way we was doing it in the on premises. But this Active Directory is not the on premises Active Directory. This is complete different way. It's work in the different way. It will manage the your cloud resources, RBAC role, and everything that will be managed through this particular Active Directory, where we can define, like we can have the users in the Active Directory that can be part of your on that particular group. We can even create the RBAC rule, and we can define that groups as in part of that RBAC policies. That's how it will be work. So what the feature we will get in the Azure Active Directory? Okay, so it will provide you Azure authentication authorization. You will get single sign-on. You can implement, so that whatever the resources you are going to utilize in within the organization, where if you log in with your first time, you put down your credential and you did all the things, multi-factor authentication and everything. Next time, if your parallel application going to be open in your on your system, so that you don't need to put down the password for the each and every application, because if you enable the single sign on, first time you get sign in, then other application will be took that sign in for the login authentication and authorization. Then you can do the application management. Like, I do have the application running on the Azure side. Okay, so how I can manage it? Okay, so in Azure, we can create the app. There is a terms called as the app registration. if you know create register your app with this Azure Active Directory tenant, so that you can manage that particular application through the AD, so that whatever permission you have given to that particular application, that can be comes for the authentication and authorization to your Azure Active Directory. Then another part is that there are multiple models in the Active Directory. Like if you have the business to business model, so you can implement the business to business Active Directory. Then the business to customer, like that's the case where you can create the B2C Azure Active Directory. And it also when it's come to the device management, you can register your devices in the Azure Active Directory. You can integrate Azure Active Directory with the Intune, so that you can manage your devices using the Intune through the Azure Active Directory and everything. That can be happen. Even for the Azure Active Directory, it has two flavor. One is the basic flavor, then there is the premium flavor. Okay, the pricing for basic tier is the free, but if you want to do the branding for your organization and everything, and there are some couple of extra parts, so you will get into the premium edition of the Azure Active Directory. So even if you are trying to create it through your free subscription, so you will get 1 month of free trial for the premium. So that I will suggest you go and explore the premium part also within your this first free offers, and explore all the option how we can manage brand our application, where we can define the branding and custom domains, so that everything will be, even whatever the page you will get in at the login page for your Azure, it will your brand picture will be comes into there. If you want to put down some message and everything, policies related things, so that will be appear on the login page. So just go and explore that option also. So through the Azure Active Directory, we can manage the resources and everything. But there is another option, like conditional access. What is the conditional access? Conditional, like there are lots of condition get apply on your resources. So if condition get matched, then he will get the access. Consider that one organization where that organization want, you know they know that their user base, like we are in the India right now, and we know that our all employees working from the India, and we have the servers running on the Azure. If I want to create the conditional access policy for that, so I can assign in that way only the IP location, and the location we can define, like who are trying to access this particular VM, that person need to be comes from the India location. Their IP range for that particular location can define. Okay, this person is login to the VM from the India location, then this condition get matched, and he will get access on the VM. If the same user, he might be go on the holiday in US, UK, Europe, and he tried to log in it, in that case he will not get the access to the resource, because the condition is not matched, because we are defined the condition, like the person who is login from the India, who that person will get access to the resources. So here are some point, like users and group we can define in the conditional access, like only for these users and groups we will allow access. The IP location that we have defined, even we can define the device also. Now within the organization serve the laptops for everyone, and your laptop get register into your Active Directory, so that we can define, okay, if there is one team that responsible for to create one application and maintain that particular application, and we want that application is very crucial application, and we don't want to provide access to the person who are working in that team, but that person is only managing that thing, that particular application. Okay, only those people get the access, other team member will not get the access. If you want to configure this kind of scenario also, you can do it through the devices only. You can capture the device ID for that particular resources who are going to manage it, and you can configure it, so that only the, if the authentication request coming from that devices, only those devices can get access on the resources. Same way for the application, or you will get the risk detection also, like someone trying to access from the another region, or maybe another location. So you will get alert, like this particular resources are getting access through this and this location. This type of logs you will get onto the Azure portal. So this is how we can define the conditional access, and it will be widely used in the corporate environment. So that's how we can configure it. Now what we can do, we talked about the role based access management, like where we can create the role based access management, and where we can see it and logs, and everything that we can see from the portal. So let me now log in into the portal. And if I come here, like we have created now the this particular vnet. Within that vnet, this is what the IAM role, that the role, the access management things will be happening from here. And if you see here, role assignment, here you will get what are the role assigned to this particular vnet. If you see here, the you will get who has the access and everything on this particular resource group. And if I talk about the roles, so these are the by default roles on in the in your tenant. So when it's come to the role, these are the defined role. But if you want to configure your role, because you're not you don't want to, like, take the example, like if someone want to create the virtual machine, so he should have the access on the Microsoft compute resources, so that he should have the access microsoft.compute, and then the access for then read, write, then modify. This kind of access is get configured by default. If I type here virtual machine, so you will see that virtual machine contributor access. Okay, so this access, like if I click here on the view, so it has the access, like this kind of access, all the access, what activity he can do with this particular rule. Okay, he maybe create the virtual machine, he can manage the virtual machine, he can delete the virtual machine. But when it's come to your organization decided that, okay, people can create the virtual machine, they can manage it, but they cannot delete it. So in that case, you can create your custom role within your tenant, and you can define the role, what are the access that you have to put. You just put those role, and create the no, user friendly name for that particular custom role, so that you can get easily know that by looking into the name, okay, this particular role I have created for this kind of activity, where user can create the VM, they can modify it, change it, but they cannot delete it. And you can apply that particular role on that resource group, so that, and assign the user for that. So whoever part of that particular resource group, where the policy get applied, they only can create, manage it, but when it's come to the delete, they will not able to do that. So this is how we can define our custom role also. But if let's move to the custom role, what are the default role? Okay, so you have the owner and contributor. Owner has then all the access level on the your tenant. Okay, he can do whatever he want to be. So who are the part of the core team of your IT, who is going to manage your all the resources in the Azure, they will have the owner role. The same way, owner role cannot be get to everyone, right? Because if this role get assigned to everyone, then definitely there will be no glitch into this system. So below this role, we have the contributor also. Okay, the contributor role has the now most of the part as compared to the owner, but the billing part and other things that will be not come into the picture for the contributor. So he cannot be manage the bills and everything. So that's how the contributor roles into the come into the picture. Then we have then only just reader access. Like if some people only want to see the what we are doing into the Azure in our organization, like your program manager, delivery manager, maybe your higher management, they don't want to do they are not developer, or maybe infra developer. They just want to see, like everything whatever you're saying into the your day, that's you're creating or not. In that case, we can define this kind of reader role, so they can log in into the portal and they can see like are we doing the right work or not, so that they can validate. Even for the people who are managing your FinOps, they can have the only read only access, so they can look into the resources, what the resources you have created, what the tag you have created for that, so that they can manage it. This is how the rollback access management comes into the picture, where you want to provide the access on the resources. And this is the key part of providing the access and everything. Now here you were able to see the access, but if you want to see what access, you know what level of access you have, so if you see here on the my access, if you click here, so it will give you the what access you have. So it is showing me that like I do have the a service administration administrator access on this particular VNet. And if I want to check the access for the other user, or maybe identity management, then here quick check access, where we have to define if it is user and group, you need to type down the user and group here, so that you will get to know that what level of access assigned to that particular user and that particular group. If you have the identity, then you can define that particular identity, so that it will show you the access level for that particular identity. So this is what about the your access management, where role based access management, where we can define and see what are the roles and responsibility that's mapped to your ID, or maybe someone else ID, right? Then same way we can do, see here the activity logs. Okay, so activity logs means whatever we are doing on this particular VNet, or maybe on your resource level, maybe on the resource group level, that will be write it down here. Like here if you see, I click on this activity log. If you see here, one activity log is get created, and that's log saying that create or update virtual network. Okay, so if you expand this particular log, so you will get to know that what action created, who created that action. So this is the way we can see what who is doing what on the your resource level, right? So access part, that you will get into the access control, and the activity log you will get into the activity logs, what are the activity and everything's are moving into the resource level. Okay, let me minimize it. Now we will talk about the Azure governance methodology. What is that, and where we need to utilize it? So like in the governance part, your RBACs come into the picture, that we just discuss about how we can manage the resources and everything for the using the RBAC. Then there is resource log option is there. You just like if you define your application, you push your application code and everything on the your production application, and now you are aware about that there will be no change for the further months, or further release, or further sprint. So you just go on that particular resource, and you can lock that particular resource, so no one can delete that particular resources, and that resource will be locked for uh, locked till the time you apply this lock for that. Then next things comes into the tagging. I have discussed in all 3 days about the tagging are very important when it's come to the governance part. Tagging show you the most of the options, and how we can manage the taggings and everything. Okay, so RBAC things we discuss about the resource log. So in the resource log, I just want to add here the part resource log. We can define in this particular three permission. What kind of resource log we can define? The read only, update, or delete. If you define the log not to delete, then you will be not able to delete, but we can update the resources within that particular resource group. Maybe on the subscription level also you can define these particular things. So we will quickly check about this particular resource log, where you can create the resource, and how we can add the log on that particular resource. So let's move on to the portal. And now what we can do, we have created this particular VNet, right? And this VNet, if you remembered here, we created in this demo resource group, right? If you see here, you will get option for log, and if you want to just type log here, you will able to search that particular option. Just click on this log option and click on the add. Here you have to provide the name for this particular log. I'm saying that not to delete. Here the permission that we have defined, we have three, like read only access you have to log you have to assign, or maybe delete. So I'm saying the delete here. Like note, if you want to pass it to pass, or otherwise you cannot. If you not pass the note, that's not the problem. Now this log is get applied on your resource group. Okay, now what we can do, we just close it and we try to delete this particular resource group. Okay, let me add here. It will ask me the name for the resource group, so you just copy the name from here and paste it here, so that your delete option will be appear here. Just click on the delete, and if you see here, it's saying that is the resource group deletion failed. Why? Because we have logged this particular resource group. If you remove this log, let me go again into the logs. This is what the log. If I delete it, okay, now the log, we have removed the log, right? Now if I go onto overview page, and where I will click on the delete, and I pass the name of this particular resource group. And now if I delete, it will easily get deleted, because we have just unlocked this from the permission that we have defined, right? The same way you can define this particular logs on the subscription level. You can define on its resource group level, or maybe on the individual resource. Like you can define the logs on the VNet, your particular virtual network, maybe on your public IP. You don't want to know someone want to delete that particular IP, so you can have the logs on that particular resource group according to your requirement. Okay, now the tagging again. Let's one more time. We can define the tagging. So tagging, how it is going to be defined? It's a key value pair. Like if you see on this particular example, so I have mentioned here, like tagging in the way where we have I have defined the particular way. So tagging, when I said key value pair, like this is the key, who is the owner of this particular resource group, then this is what the resource group. This resource belongs to which department, it will define the um, department. Then the environment, is it production environment, maybe day, or it's maybe QA, that you can define. And the most important part is cost center, where the cost for this particular resource is going to, who is, which team or which department is going to pay the cost for this, so that we can define here, so that easily we can access the resource, and we got to know that which resource belong to which particular properties. Okay. Then the Azure policy, this is the very important terminology in the Azure, where we can define our organization level policies. Like if I want to create my policies for my organization, depend on my security policies and everything. Policy you can define, and you can assign it on the different level. You can define your policies on the management group level, so that it can get to inherited to all the resources below to that particular management group. So what we can define in the policies, when it's come to the policy, you can define your security aspect. Like consider that in my particular policy, I want no one can create the uh, say the sizing part. Okay, so I can define, like particular sizing D2V. This is the only sizing I am going to allow in my environment, where the people can create the D2V size VMs in the environment. That's how we can define the sizing. We can define, like if I want to define the location, region based policy. In that case, if I know that my business is going to run in the US, or maybe East US. Okay, so only these two region I will be allow in my particular policy, so that who are going to create the resources in your subscription. If they create in this particular two resource group region, then the only they are able to create the resources. If they try to create the resource group apart from this two region, then their deployment will be failed, because they are not adhere to the whatever the policy that we have defined on the management group level, or maybe on the subscription level, where you are defining. But the best practice is that you can define your organizational level policy on the management group level. Then if you have the shared resources and the resource group level, you can really define some policy on the resource group level. Why I'm saying, like, what the best practices about assigning the policy on the management group level, because it's easy to manage, and once you and that's the single place where you can define, and it will get inherit to the all the resources, those are part of that particular management group. And in certain stage, if you want to add something, then you need to add the policy on the single location. And if you want to remove, then again the same way you have to remove from the management group level, so it will be applicable for the each and every resources. Those are the part of that particular resource management group. That's how we can define our Azure policies and everything into the organization level. You can define the network policies, you can define the security center monitoring definition. There are lots of policies available on the Azure side, predefined. You can define your own policies, and that's how we can going to manage our Azure environment. Now coming to the blueprint, what is the blueprint? So you might be heard one word in going forward about the your landing zone. So blueprint is nothing but it's defining, whenever you are going to create your environment on the Azure, what will be your network, where your policy, what policy you get assigned, what will the policies for your resource group, and how the resource group template defined. That's some everything you can define into the blueprint, so that when you are going to create the new environment, it will check all this particular resource your blueprint to validate that everything is as per the blueprint or not, and according to that your resources will be spins. Okay, so every organization define their landing zone, like whenever they create any resources. Consider that I have currently I am having the ABC application running on the system. Now going forward, I am going to launch the another application, where I need to create the different environment for that particular application, where the new subscription comes into the picture and new landing zone come into the picture. I do have my hybrid environment, on premises environment. So how the connectivity and everything comes into the picture, your how you define your hub and spoke virtual network, where you can create the connection in between your all the networks, and throughout your environment, on premises environment and your cloud environment. That everything you can define in your landing zone, and you can do it by validating it. Now coming to the cloud adoption framework. So every time whenever you are going to create any cloud resources, you should have your business strategy, what your the business strategy, how you are going to make it. Then after strategy, you should have the plan, like how you are going to get on that level in the agile plan, how you are going to know adoption, this all the framework and everything. Then prepare your cloud environment for the planning, what are the planning changes. So readiness comes into the picture, then you will start migrating your resources, then you can innovate it, then you govern it by using applying the policies and everything. And once everything is ready, you can manage it the way you want to be, right? This is how the comes into the cloud adoption policy framework, where you can we can define the all the aspects of the cloud, right? When it's come to compliance and everything. So like every compliance has their own things, like security, privacy and compliance. So your securities comes into the picture, how you are going to secure your environment. Okay, that's the key part when it's come to the cloud, or maybe on the on premises. Then how you're defining your policy, you should knows about that. And how your all the resources are compliance, that you should know that about, how the organization are managing it, and what control that we need to put, what the security part managed by us, what's managed by the Microsoft, that everything we need to see. And where we will get it everything on the the documentation page. Okay, next, the compliance terms and everything. It might be, you just aware about the HIPAA and ISO certificates that need to be compliance for your all the peripheral that you are going to utilize in your environment. For that, these are the some required compliance, those are available in the place. According to that, if your environment fits, so that everyone can be say that this is whatever we are utilizing on the Azure side, this is compliance, and we can put down our resources, right? The privacy statement you will get in the Azure, Microsoft documentation, where what the data process they have managed, how Microsoft is processing it, and everything you will get into the on the Microsoft privacy statement pages. Then it's come to the terms and the data protection for the your environment, that's already into the place. And another part about the trust center. So whatever we are discussing, if you go into this particular link, the microsoft.com trust center, so you will get all the information that we discuss about, like what are the regulatory are there into the place, how they are managing their data center, how they are compliance, what the data compliance certification certificates they have, and the rating and everything you will get to know on this particular site. So do visit to this particular site, you will get to know about the compliance. If you are want to make your career in the security part of your journey, like cyber security and everything, so you should go and check this particular website. Then we have the Azure compliance documentation page also. You will get the same on the same website, you will get the page. Okay. Then we have the, let me quickly show you. I think I do have open that particular page. uh, See here, if you see comes here, you will get all the information about your documentation, compliance offering, law enforcement and data request, everything you will get information. If you click here on the learn more information, you will get all the documentation about that, and according to the your requirement, you can go and read all this documentation. Okay, let me minimize it. So, like again, it has some restricted region for the Azure, where the where it's comes to the government sites and everything. So Azure have the data center that's specific for the government purpose, where they can isolate their environment from the other regions, so that they can put down their data, and they have other types of controls in the system, where the governmental data centers come into the picture. Then we have the physical separation of the Azure cloud services, and we can operate on the 21 variant, and the data stay with the China. It's China region, it has different aspect policies, so that's what define here. And yeah, we might be now done with the all the aspects of your compliance and everything, and whatever we discussed about overall the this AZ 900 boot camp. Like, this is something that comes into the picture when it's come to the fundamental part. So we have touched to each and every component of the Azure that is there on the Azure environment, how we can create it, how we can manage it, how our Microsoft managing their data center, what share models comes into the picture, where what responsibility we are managing, what level of responsibility Azure is going to be managed. That's how it's the about the shared model and everything. And these are then all the components that you will be learn once you gone through all these things, you will be learn by yourself for the advanced level. Everyone want to know go with the fundamental, then the advanced level come into the picture, right? Where you have to know, I will recommend you one site like Azure Learn, where from where we are learning, everyone learning from the that particular site. So it will help you out throughout your journey. Even the new services come into the picture, because Azure is still evaluating their services, new features coming into the picture. They are coming with the new solution, new offerings. So keep in touch with the community, keep in touch with the Azure Learn side, where you will get all those details, and that will help you out for your entire journey of the cloud adoption and everything. On top of that, if you are interested to slightly move on to the on the side where you want to know, where you want to create the multiple data aspect, and multiple services for your cloud journey, then I will recommend one more site. I don't know what happened to my PC. It's not working. Okay, so I will recommend one more site, like where you can define your you can learn from that. Okay, give me a second. I don't know what's going wrong with system. Okay, yeah, now it's working, I hope so. If you see here, I have created one site like cloudskillsup.com. If you visit here, so you will get all the resources, like your Azure storage, VMs, and the networking part, or tips and trips, and infrastructure also code, and whatever the new things coming into the picture, you will get to know that in the what's new tab. So just go and explore the all the resources available on the internet for your cloud journey and everything. So that's it for guys, for all over this boot camp. I believe that you will you enjoyed all the session, and I believe that I have given you, I try to give all the aspects of the cloud, where and how we can configure it, and that's the way we can define. So here I'm going to stop the sharing, and I will hand it over to the host. Lakshit, you there or someone else?
Yes, sir. Sir, I hope we are over with the session. We have few queries with us. I would like to highlight some of the queries. Like Pratik is asking, can we have multiple collaborators for VMs?
Multiple collaborators, in terms of if you're talking about the like if you have the different application, or maybe third party application, if you want to collaborate it, then definitely we have the solution, and we need to manage it according to the use case to use case basis. But we can do it. We can put down within the your vnet, and you can have the communication in between those resources, so that they can collaborate with that. In fact, if you have any solution, if you are looking for in terms of the IS solution, where the you want any application, predefined images are there on the marketplace, where you will like if you required the what we call, like you required one solution, like let me take the example, like you required WordPress, right? If you want to create that particular WordPress, then you need to create your VMs, and you need to install it, right? But there are the images from the WordPress site, they have created all the solution for you. Just you need to spin up, you spin up the your VM with that particular resources, then you will get to know, you will get that particular solution, and you can utilize it for your implementation.
Perfect. Amazing, sir. I hope that answers the query of Pratik. So we have feedback from our students. They are saying great session, awesome, great session. So thank you everyone for your comments. And we would like to wrap up with the session as we are over with the boot camp. Thank you very much, sir, for devoting your time for the community folks and coming out and spending your weekend time for the community. We really appreciate it, and looking forward to collaborate with you for further more events. Thank you everyone for being such a patient listeners. I hope this AZ900 bootcamp was amazing and insightful for you all. Looking forward to get your hands dirty and show your love on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, and happy learning.